Ian Rappaport reporting that Michigan running back Blake Corum, as Maz had mentioned, expected to have knee surgery, out for the season. Heisman Trophy candidate should make a full recovery. He tried to play last week versus Ohio State, but his knee made it impossible. Love Blake Corum. Absolutely a Heisman candidate. I will say, this may be unpopular, okay? I think this forces the Michigan coaching staff to play a different brand of football, where you don't pound it up the middle and try to be tougher than the next guy.
Right.
Where you use your student athletes and you put your athletes in a position to win your football games. By the way, Donovan Edwards, on his 2 long touchdowns, pretty much up the middle runs. I mean, zero safety, whatever, but
off tackle,
the off tackle, yeah. Either way, what I'm trying to tell you is this maybe doesn't put the Michigan coaches in a really, really conservative mindset to play a Georgia, to play a TCU. Because I got news for you. TCU is a tough football team. TCU has played the toughest schedule in America. Go look at. They have more top 25 wins than anybody in America.
Do you believe in those teams though? Like now, by the numbers, you're absolutely correct.
Yeah,
Ryan, but do you believe in those teams?
I don't know, Bray. I mean, I think this is like one of the most sporadic college football years I've seen in a long time.
I give you a hint. We know that Penn State, that comes from our division, our conference, is ranked 8. We in the Big Ten know Penn State is not an 8.
Either way, I think they've got a good quarterback and they've got a good coach.
Agreed.
They're an 8 this year. You know why? Because no one is that good.
And they've got a good defense.
Might be very factual.
They've got a good defense, a good coach, and I don't want to look past Purdue, whatever. We're looking past Purdue. Sue us.
Yeah,
right.
Not our job.
I'm looking ahead to TCU, and I'm thinking to myself, I like when JJ does an RPO. I like when JJ rolls out. I like when JJ slings it around a little bit, because I think if you play Georgia in the national championship game, you are not going to play bully ball against them and win it.
You'll have a month to practice.
Yeah, you are going to have to change the way you play football, and maybe the game plan against Ohio State was the start of it. But you can't just run the ball on first down, run the ball on second down, run the ball on third down, and see where you end up after 3 downs like that.
Right, but you're passing up one thing. You're missing your best player. 1A or 1B. You're missing your best player. So now Ohio State had to maybe think that Blake was going to play. They knew he wasn't going to play after the first couple of minutes. But at least they had to prepare for him. Now all these other teams are like, okay, if we can stop Donovan Edwards, then who are they going to go to? I'm just saying. It's a big loss.
It's a loss.
It's a big loss.
Is it my turn yet?
Go ahead,
no, are you guys about to go at it?
No, go ahead.
I was only because it looked like you guys about to have a little back and forth.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
So first and foremost, it is a big loss. Like, this is Blake Corum. This is the guy we've been talking about being the catalyst on offense all year long. This is the guy we started talking about as a Heisman Trophy candidate before the season started and all the way late into the season. So this is a big loss for Michigan. With that being said, the way in which this injury has happened has been good for Michigan in terms of the best that it could be. He gets hurt legitimately before the Ohio State game. They kind of had to go knowing to that. They had to know going into the Ohio State game, Blake's probably not going to be of use. We'll see. We'll give it to go. We'll give him a shot, blah, blah, blah. We'll pray. If he doesn't go, we'll start to put together a game plan that's beneficial with him not in there. And you saw that game plan unfold in Ohio State, of all places, where they had success, and then you saw what the defense was able to do. JJ was allowed to see some passes being complete, past 5 yards, past 10 yards. He was allowed to see guys getting into the end zone. So I think Michigan's very confident that he can play without Blake Corum. If you look at any other team outside of Georgia, Maz and Ryan, like USC is not the same team Michigan is, with the exception of a quarterback. Max Duggan is a good quarterback for TCU, but that team is not constructed like Michigan is from the defensive side as well as the offensive line side as well as the physical and the toughness side of things. Michigan is just fine. And now you'll have a Purdue game where you'll get the chance to let JJ pass the ball a little bit, see some intermediate passing, get the ball down the field, let him enjoy the rhythm that he's on on since the Ohio State game. Then you have time to construct a game plan how you want to approach TCU January 1st. What are you going to attack about TCU January 1st? How are you going to take advantage of the things that TCU has shown you on film against Texas Tech where they should have lost, against a Baylor team, and other wins in the season where they struggled against Big 12 teams? I think Michigan is a good place right now with their team feeling confident, even with Blake Corum, which is a tremendous loss. But with that being said, they're much better than the other teams with the exception of Georgia. And I think they're in a good place overall to come up with a game plan from now to January 1st.
It still sucks.
Yeah, no, it sucks,
It
right?
sucks, but you know what? You go negative to neutral. In life, you don't say, oh, you know what, turn a bad situation good. You can't turn a negative situation bad. You go negative to neutral. The negative to neutral is, okay, boom, Blake Corum gets injured. But now what do we have? Oh, we saw Donovan Edwards against Ohio State. We know that we have other players. We know that we have other game plans. And now we've seen J.J. McCarthy get the ball down the field. We know we can pass. It sucks, but you move on because you are one of the best brands, if not the best brand in football.
I just want to say this.
Yeah.
Ohio State didn't have Jackson Smith and Jigba. They didn't have Mayan Williams. But they still had Marvin Harrison and all the rest of those guys. Trevion Henderson, all of them. They still lost.
Right.
Because the two best players weren't available.
Michigan have their two best players. Master, what are you saying?
I'm saying that you lost your bell cow.
They didn't have him against Ohio State, and they still won.
But Ohio State didn't have their guys.
And Michigan didn't have Mike Morris. He's the number one.
Hey, listen, I can go back and forth in history with you. The Giants won the Super Bowl with Jeff Hostetler. They didn't have Phil Simms.
I know that.
They beat the Bills.
I understand that.
Okay, I know it can happen. I'm just saying it's hard. That's all.
Well, just say that, because the first thing I said, man, is I was on your side. Like, I legitimately said, yo, that's a huge loss. But then I talked about how they can win. Yeah, I know about Jeff Hostetler and Phil Simms and all that. I get that. I get it. Doug Williams and Joe Theismann. Yeah. I can go history with you as well. But with that said, Michigan is in the best place.
The Eagles.
Best place for where it happened is what I'm saying. Michigan's in that best place for Blake Corum where it happens.
So, and again, this could be semantics here, but the reason why I call Blake Corum a loss and not a big loss is because I think even without Blake Corum, the Michigan Wolverines can win the national championship. I think a big loss to me is somebody that you lose where those expectations change, and that's J.J. McCarthy. If Michigan lost J.J. McCarthy, they can't win the national championship. Their season is over. They probably lose to Purdue. In fact, maybe. I don't know.
Not that bad.
Probably not that bad.
Well, they don't have Cade anymore because he's out for the year.
And that's the problem.
And he's transferred.
And I kind of feel like, the backup player is Donovan Edwards. And the backup player is every bit as good, if not even better, than the player that they're losing.
He's a unicorn.
It sucks that they lost Blake Corum, but my expectation does not change. My feeling about the team does not change. So I can't consider that a big loss.
Okay.
Is that fair?
I agree with you 100%. I mean, Stokes is a serviceable running back, and we haven't seen him in a full size. Who knows what Stokes brings to the table? Gash, he dropped the pass against Illinois, but he's a guy that they also feel really good about. So they got a couple guys to back Donovan Edwards up. Not to mention they have Donovan Edwards. So we'll see what happens with the Michigan coaching staff, especially on the offensive side, of how they game plan for Purdue and moving forward to TCU. But I just think it happened at the best time. If this happens with Blake Corum, if this happens as they're training for TCU, or if this happens if this happens in the Purdue game, Ryan Ermanni, where you don't have that sample size against Ohio State and what it looks like without Blake Corum, then we're kind of like, ooh, this is tough. How will they be able to be? What will the passing game be like? How will they balance the running back field? But the fact that we saw that in Columbus, I think that's why we're so confident.